Linda Lavin's decision to walk away from the final episode of Alice has remained one of the most talked about moments in television history. For years, fans of the show have been puzzled by her absence. After years of being the star of the show, playing the iconic role of Alice Hyatt, why would she choose to not be part of the finale? This question has sparked countless discussions and theories, yet the real reason behind her decision is something only she truly knows. However, there's a lot to uncover when it comes to understanding her unexpected exit from the show. What led to this surprising move? Was it a personal choice, or was there something more behind it that the audience wasn't aware of? From the outside, Alice appeared to be a massive success. It was a show loved by millions of people, and Linda Lavin's portrayal of Alice Hyatt, a single mother who works as a waitress, was one of the main reasons for its success. She was the heart of the show, bringing charm, humor, and warmth to the character. For many, the idea of Alice without her simply didn't make sense. But Linda's decision to leave just as the show was wrapping up left many wondering, was there a deeper reason for her absence? To understand this better, we have to look at what was happening in Linda's life during that time. Being a successful actress on a popular television show comes with a lot of pressure. People often forget that the stars we see on TV have lives behind the scenes, filled with challenges and choices that we may not be aware of. Linda was no exception. While her role on Alice made her a household name, it also meant she had to give up much of her personal life. The constant work schedule, the pressure to maintain her image, and the demands of being the lead on a major show could have taken a toll on her. After years of playing the same character, it's possible that Linda felt she needed a break from the spotlight. But was it just exhaustion, or was there something more at play here? As Alice was nearing its end, Linda had already begun to explore other opportunities. She had ambitions outside of television and was looking to expand her career in different directions. It's important to remember that Linda wasn't just an actress, she was also a talented singer and performer. She had a desire to branch out and pursue other creative endeavors. It's possible that she felt her time on Alice had come to an end, and that she was ready for something new. What adds to the curiosity is the fact that Linda's departure wasn't widely discussed at the time. There wasn't a big public statement explaining her reasons for leaving. Instead, fans were left to speculate. Some assumed that it was due to a dispute with the producers, while others wondered if she was unhappy with the direction the show was taking. Whatever the reason, the truth remained hidden for a long time. The silence surrounding her decision only added to the mystery. It wasn't until much later that Linda began to open up about her feelings at the time, shedding light on the factors that led to her exit. One of the most intriguing aspects of Linda's decision is how it affected the show. Alice was known for its ensemble cast, with each character contributing to the overall success of the show. While Linda was the star, her absence in the final episode created a noticeable gap. The show had been built around her character, and without her it felt incomplete. Fans couldn't help but wonder what the finale would have been like if she had been a part of it. Would the ending have been different? Could the show have had a more satisfying conclusion if Alice Hyatt had been there to say goodbye? As much as the fans were left with unanswered questions, Linda herself had her own reasons for not returning. After all, it wasn't an easy decision to make. Walking away from a successful show that had brought her so much fame wasn't something that anyone would do lightly. But for Linda, it was a choice that ultimately felt right for her at that time. She had reached a point where she needed to prioritize her own well-being and career goals over continuing with a role that, despite its success, may have felt limiting. This decision, however, didn't mark the end of Linda Lavin's career. In fact, it opened up new opportunities for her. She went on to pursue other projects, including a successful stage career and various television roles. But the curiosity surrounding her decision to leave Alice remains. Why didn't she finish the show with the rest of the cast? What were the circumstances that led to this decision? These questions continue to linger, even as Linda has moved on and created a legacy of her own. The mystery surrounding Linda Lavin's departure from Alice speaks to something bigger about the nature of fame and television. We often see celebrities on our screens and assume that their lives are as perfect as the characters they play. But behind every decision is a person with their own struggles, goals, and desires. Linda's choice to walk away from the final episode of Alice is a reminder that even the most successful stars are not immune to the pressures and complexities of life. It also raises questions about the expectations placed on actors and whether they are always in control of their own careers. In the end, Linda's decision was her own, and it's a testament to her strength and ability to make choices that were right for her, even when they didn't align with what the public expected. When Linda Lavin made the decision to walk away from Alice's final episode, it was a move that left everyone in shock. Fans who had been following the show for years were left wondering why she chose not to return. After all, Alice was a beloved show, and Linda had become synonymous with the role of Alice Hyatt. She had given so much to the show, and to the character. So why would she choose to leave just as the show was wrapping up? What was it that caused her to make such a bold decision? This question remains one of the biggest mysteries in television history. To fully understand the situation, we need to look at the bigger picture of Linda's life and career at the time. At the time Alice was nearing its end, Linda Lavin was already at the peak of her fame. She had played Alice Hyatt for several years, and her portrayal of a hard-working single mother had captured the hearts of audiences everywhere. People knew her as Alice, and she had become a key part of the show's identity. It wasn't just her acting talent that made her so popular. It was also the way she connected with the audience. Viewers saw a real person in Alice Hyatt. The show wasn't just about funny moments, it was about dealing with real struggles, and Linda portrayed that with grace. So it was no surprise that when the show started to come to an end, the idea of a final episode without Linda felt strange. But despite her success on the show, Linda had her own reasons for stepping away. One thing that might have contributed to her decision was the exhaustion that comes with being the lead on a long-running show. Being on television takes a lot of time and energy. The shooting schedule is demanding, and the constant pressure to maintain a public image can be overwhelming. For someone like Linda, who was also dealing with her personal life and ambitions outside of the show, it's easy to see how this lifestyle could become draining. While it might look like fame and success are glamorous from the outside, it often means sacrificing personal time and energy. Linda's decision to walk away from the final episode could have been a way for her to take back some of that control in her life. Another important factor in understanding Linda's decision is her desire for growth. While Alice had given her incredible success, Linda had bigger goals for her career. She wasn't just an actress, she had other talents and aspirations. During her time on Alice, she had always wanted to branch out into other areas of the entertainment world. Linda had a passion for singing and performing in theater, and she was looking for opportunities that would allow her to pursue these interests more deeply. This desire for a different path might have played a significant role in her choice to step away from the show. Perhaps she felt that Alice had taken her as far as it could, and now she needed to explore new opportunities. Her decision to leave the show wasn't something that was publicly discussed at the time, which only added to the mystery. Fans didn't know the real reason behind her exit, and the silence only fueled more speculation. Some assumed there was a behind-the-scenes conflict with the producers or other cast members. Maybe she wasn't happy with the direction the show was going, or maybe there were personal reasons that led her to make this choice. Whatever the case, the truth was hidden for quite some time. It wasn't until years later that Linda began to open up about her reasons for stepping away. But even then, she didn't give one specific answer. Instead, she explained that it was a mix of things, personal, professional, and creative, that led to her decision. In addition to these factors, Linda's life outside of Alice also played a role in her decision. She had her own personal challenges that she was facing during that time. Like many people, Linda was balancing her professional life with her personal life, and sometimes those two worlds clash. The pressures of being in the spotlight, dealing with media attention, and managing a public image can have a huge impact on an individual's mental and emotional well-being. For Linda, this could have been a time when she needed to take a step back and focus on herself. Perhaps she needed space to figure out who she was outside of the character of Alice Hyatt. Linda quote, "Absence from the finale left a gap in the show that was hard to ignore." The final episode of a show is supposed to be a big send-off for its characters, especially one as beloved as Alice Hyatt. Without Linda, the episode lacked the emotional closure that fans were expecting. While the rest of the cast did their best to make the finale memorable, it wasn't the same without the central figure. People were curious about how the show would have ended if Linda had been there. Would the finale have had a different tone? Would Alice's character have had a more fitting conclusion to her story? These are the questions that lingered in the minds of viewers long after the show ended. Despite the mystery surrounding her departure, Linda's career didn't end with Alice. In fact, her decision to leave the show opened up new doors for her. After stepping away from the spotlight of television, she focused on her other creative interests. She pursued theater, music, and various other projects, which allowed her to explore different aspects of her talent. She proved that her identity was not solely defined by Alice, and that she had much more to offer as an artist. Linda's decision to leave Alice was a turning point in her career, one that allowed her to reinvent herself and pursue new challenges. The curiosity surrounding Linda's exit from Alice continues to be a topic of discussion among fans, but in many ways, it speaks to the complexity of being a public figure. We often see actors on TV and think we know their lives, but in reality, they are making personal decisions that are not always shared with the public. Linda's decision to walk away from the final episode of Alice shows that even the most successful stars have their own struggles and ambitions. It also reminds us that fame and success don't always come with easy answers. Sometimes the choices we make are influenced by a combination of factors that are not immediately clear to those watching from the outside. For Linda Lavin, walking away from the finale was a decision that shaped her life and career in ways that fans could only guess. When Linda Lavin walked away from the final episode of Alice, it was not just a shocking move for the fans but also a moment that left a lasting impression on the show's legacy. For years, people have speculated about why she chose to leave the show at such a critical moment. Alice had been a successful series, and Linda had been at the heart of it, playing the role of Alice Hyatt, a single mother working as a waitress. This character had become so loved by viewers that the idea of the show without her seemed impossible. Yet as the show approached its final episode, Linda made the surprising choice not to participate. What happened behind the scenes? Why would she leave a show that had brought her so much fame and success? The mystery surrounding her absence was heightened by the fact that Linda didn't explain her decision to the public at the time. The show's finale came and went without much explanation, leaving viewers to wonder what was going on. Was there a big disagreement? Or was there a personal reason that led to her decision? Linda's departure from Alice remains a subject of curiosity to this day, and the truth behind her choice has been something many fans have tried to figure out for years. To better understand Linda's decision, we have to look beyond the show itself and consider what was happening in her life at the time. Being on a long-running television show like Alice requires a great deal of dedication. Linda had spent years playing the same character, and by the time the final episode rolled around, she had given so much of herself to the role. This can be emotionally and physically draining for any actor. It is important to remember that when an actor becomes so closely tied to a character, it can sometimes feel as if their identity is being consumed by that role. For Linda, stepping away from Alice might have been a way to regain her own sense of self. She had already achieved tremendous success, and it's possible she felt she needed a break from the spotlight in order to focus on other aspects of her life and career. At the same time, Linda had bigger dreams. She wasn't just an actress, she had a passion for singing and performing in theater. These creative outlets were just as important to her as acting on television. Alice had brought her fame, but it was also a role that, despite its success, might have begun to feel limiting. Linda might have felt that she had given all she could to Alice Hyatt and that it was time to move on to new projects where she could explore her other talents. The world of theater in particular offered a fresh challenge and the chance to stretch her skills in ways that television couldn't. Leaving Alice allowed Linda to open the door to new opportunities where she could pursue the artistic freedom she craved. Linda, quote,'s departure also speaks to a larger theme in the entertainment industry. Many actors, especially those who have been in the public eye for a long time, reach a point where they want to redefine their careers. Being on a long-running show can sometimes trap an actor in one role for years, and while this can be great for career stability, it can also feel restrictive. Linda's decision to step away from Alice could have been a way for her to free herself from the expectations placed on her by both the show and the public. She may have wanted to prove that she was more than just Alice Hyatt, that she had other talents to share with the world. The lack of explanation at the time only fueled curiosity. Fans wondered if there had been a dispute with the producers or cast members, or if Linda had been unhappy with how the show was being handled. The show had been on for a while, and there had been many changes over the years, both in terms of the cast and the direction of the show. It was possible that Linda didn't agree with the direction Alice was taking and felt that the show was no longer the right fit for her. However, even with all the speculation, Linda remained silent for many years, leaving fans in the dark. It wasn't until later that Linda started to discuss her decision more openly. She shared that it wasn't a single issue that led her to leave, but a combination of factors. It was not just about the show but about her own life, her career, and her desires to grow as an artist. She explained that she had reached a point in her career where she was ready for something new. The pressures of being on a popular show were taking a toll on her, and she needed to move on in order to explore other opportunities. This openness in her later years helped fans understand her decision, but it also added layers of complexity to the story. What looked like a simple exit from a show was actually a pivotal moment in Linda's life. Another aspect of this decision that stands out is the impact it had on the show itself. Alice was a show that revolved around Linda's character. Her portrayal of Alice Hyatt was central to the show's success. So when she chose not to be part of the final episode, it created a noticeable absence. The show's finale was important as it was meant to give closure to the characters and the audience, but without Linda there was something missing. Fans couldn't help but wonder how the finale would have been different if Alice Hyatt had been there to say goodbye. Would the ending have been more emotional, more fulfilling? The curiosity surrounding this only added to the mystery of Linda's departure. Despite all the questions and uncertainty, Linda's career didn't end with Alice. In fact, her decision to leave the show gave her the freedom to pursue other projects. She went on to have a successful career in theater, performing in various plays and shows. She also continued to explore other creative opportunities, including music. Linda's decision to step away from the television spotlight allowed her to reinvent herself and prove that she was more than just the character of Alice Hyatt. Her move was a reminder that even the most successful actors are constantly evolving and seeking new challenges. The mystery of why Linda Lavin left Alice continues to capture the attention of fans. It is a story that remains full of unanswered questions, but it also highlights the complexity of being in the public eye. We often assume that we know everything about the stars we watch on TV, but in reality, their lives are filled with personal decisions and struggles that we may never fully understand. Linda's departure from Alice is a reminder that even the most beloved characters and actors have their own stories to tell, and sometimes those stories are far more complicated than we can imagine. Linda Lavin's decision to walk away from the final episode of Alice left many people curious about the reasons behind it. For years, fans of the show couldn't understand why the lead actress who had brought so much to the role of Alice Hyatt wouldn't return to wrap up the series. After all, Linda had been the heart and soul of the show, portraying the single mother working as a waitress with humor, grace and warmth. It seemed impossible for the finale to feel complete without her. So what made Linda Lavin make such an unexpected choice? Why would someone who had become so iconic in her role choose to leave just before the end? To understand this decision, we have to take a closer look at Linda's life at the time and what might have led her to make such a bold move. At the time Alice was nearing its final episode, Linda Lavin was a star in the truest sense of the word. She had become a household name thanks to her portrayal of Alice Hyatt, and the show had enjoyed success for many years. As the lead actress, Linda had spent a great deal of time and energy bringing the character to life, and by the time the series was wrapping up, she had become incredibly connected to the role. It would have made sense for her to be present for the final episode to give closure to both her character and the audience. But Linda's decision not to be part of the show's final chapter raised many questions. One possible reason for Linda's decision could have been the emotional and mental toll that playing the same character for so many years took on her. Being on a popular show requires a lot of work and commitment, and being the lead role means constant pressure to perform. The daily routine of filming, maintaining a public image, and the pressure to always be on can be exhausting for any actor. Even though Alice had been a successful show, Linda might have felt that she needed a break. It's important to remember that acting is not just about performing, it's about immersing yourself in a role, living that character day in and day out. Over time, this can start to feel like a heavy burden, especially when you have been playing that same character for years. It's not hard to imagine that Linda, after so many years of being Alice, might have felt the need to step away and regain some balance in her life. While Alice had given Linda Lavin fame and recognition, it was also a role that defined her in the eyes of many people. When an actor becomes so closely associated with a specific character, it can become difficult to break free from that image. For Linda, the role of Alice might have started to feel limiting, even though she had enjoyed tremendous success with it. Like many actors, Linda probably had other interests and goals that she wanted to pursue. She wasn't just an actress, she was also passionate about singing and theater. By leaving Alice, Linda had the chance to explore new opportunities that allowed her to stretch her talents in different directions. This move would allow her to pursue roles in theater where she could challenge herself and show the world that she had more to offer than just the role of Alice Hyatt. The lack of an official reason for her departure only added to the mystery. Fans were left to wonder, was there some kind of conflict with the show's producers or other cast members? Did Linda have creative differences with the direction the show was taking? Or was there something more personal at play that caused her to make the choice not to participate in the finale? The silence surrounding the situation left fans feeling uncertain and filled with curiosity. Speculation ran wild as people tried to figure out what had led to Linda's decision. Years later, Linda opened up about her reasons for stepping away from Alice. She revealed that it was not a single factor but rather a combination of personal and professional reasons that led to her choice. She explained that she had reached a point in her career where she was ready for a change. The long hours and pressures of being on a successful television show had taken their toll, and Linda realized that she needed to prioritize her own well-being. It wasn't just about leaving the show, it was about her need to grow as a person and as an artist. She had always wanted to explore new creative outlets, and stepping away from Alice gave her the freedom to do just that. One of the biggest impacts of Linda's decision was on the show itself. Alice had been built around her character, and Linda was the show's central figure. Without her, the show's finale lacked the emotional depth that many viewers were hoping for. Fans had followed Alice's journey for years, and it was hard for them to say goodbye without her being part of the final episode. The absence of Linda created a void that was difficult to fill. As much as the remaining cast members tried to make the finale meaningful, it wasn't the same without Alice. Fans couldn't help but wonder how the show's end would have felt if Linda had been there to wrap things up. Would it have been more emotional? Would it have provided the closure that fans were hoping for? The curiosity about what could have been has stayed with people for years, making Linda's departure one of the most talked about moments in television history. Despite leaving Alice, Linda's career didn't end there. In fact, her decision to step away from the show opened up new opportunities for her. She went on to pursue other creative projects, including theater and music. By leaving behind the role of Alice Hyatt, Linda was able to reinvent herself and explore other aspects of her career. She wasn't just an actress on a popular television show, she was a multifaceted artist with many talents. Her move away from television allowed her to showcase her abilities in new and exciting ways. Linda's departure from Alice remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious decisions in the world of television. It serves as a reminder that the lives of celebrities are far more complex than what we see on the screen. We often assume that actors are living perfect lives because of the success they have on TV, but the reality is that they are also dealing with their own personal struggles, growth, and ambitions. Linda's choice to step away from Alice was a personal one, and it wasn't an easy decision. It was a turning point in her career that allowed her to grow as an artist and pursue new challenges. In the end, her departure from the show didn't mark the end of her career, it was just the beginning of a new chapter. Linda Lavin's decision to leave Alice just before the final episode remains one of the most talked about moments in television history. Fans who had followed the show for years were left confused and curious about why she made such a surprising move. Linda had been the heart and soul of the series, and her portrayal of Alice Hyatt, the hardworking single mother, had made her a beloved figure in the television world. So why would she choose to step away when the show was coming to an end? What was behind this decision that seemed to come out of nowhere? The answers to these questions are not straightforward, and it's only through understanding Linda's life and career at the time that we can begin to make sense of her choice. By the time Alice was nearing its final episode, Linda Lavin had already established herself as a television icon. Her portrayal of Alice Hyatt had earned her critical acclaim, and she had become the face of the show. Fans were not only attached to the character of Alice but also to the actress behind her. Linda had given so much of herself to the role over the years, and her performance had helped make the show what it was. So when it was announced that Linda wouldn't be part of the final episode, it left many people wondering what had happened. It seemed strange that someone so integral to the show would choose not to be there for its final moments. One of the possible reasons for Linda's decision was the toll that being on a long-running show can take on an actor. Alice had been on the air for several years, and Linda had played the same character throughout the show's run. The demands of a television show can be overwhelming. Long hours on set, the pressure to maintain a public image, and the constant need to be in the spotlight can be exhausting. For someone like Linda, who was also balancing her personal life and interests outside of acting, the strain of it all may have started to take its toll. After many years of portraying Alice Hyatt, Linda may have simply felt the need to step back and take a break. The idea of walking away from the final episode could have been her way of reclaiming her own space and taking control of her life outside of the show. Another factor that could have influenced Linda's decision was her desire for personal growth and change. While Alice had brought her significant success, Linda's career and artistic ambitions went beyond playing a single character. She had always been passionate about other forms of performing arts, such as singing and theater. During her time on Alice, Linda had been looking for opportunities to explore these other interests. She was a talented singer and performer, and stepping away from Alice would give her the freedom to pursue these passions. Leaving the show may have been a necessary step in her career to explore different creative avenues that would allow her to grow as an artist. Linda's departure also highlights the importance of finding balance in life. While fame and success are often seen as the ultimate goals, they come with their own set of challenges. For an actor, the pressure to constantly deliver can be overwhelming, and Linda's decision to leave Alice could have been a way for her to regain a sense of control over her personal and professional life. It's easy to assume that being a successful actress on a popular show is a dream come true, but behind the scenes there are often struggles that the public doesn't see. Linda may have reached a point in her life where she realized that she needed to step away from the constant spotlight to focus on her own well-being. At the time, Linda didn't publicly explain her decision to leave the show, which only added to the mystery. Fans were left to speculate about what had happened. Was there a behind-the-scenes conflict with the producers or other cast members? Did Linda disagree with how the show was wrapping up, or was there something more personal that led her to step away from the final episode? The lack of an explanation left many questions unanswered, and the curiosity surrounding her decision only grew. It wasn't until later that Linda opened up about the factors that led her to leave Alice. In interviews years after the show ended, Linda shared that her decision wasn't based on one single reason but rather a combination of factors. She explained that the decision to leave the show was ultimately about her own personal and professional growth. The long hours and demands of being on a popular show had taken their toll, and Linda felt that it was time for a change. She also wanted the opportunity to explore other creative projects, particularly in theater and music, areas she had always been passionate about. By leaving Alice, Linda was able to take control of her career and explore new artistic challenges that allowed her to grow as an artist and performer. The impact of Linda's departure was felt strongly in the show's finale. Alice had been a show built around her character, and the idea of saying goodbye to the series without her felt incomplete for many fans. The show's finale was meant to provide closure, but without Alice Hyatt, there was something missing. Fans couldn't help but wonder how the finale would have been different if Linda had been there to wrap up her character's story. Would it have been more emotional? Would the closure have felt more satisfying? These questions lingered in the minds of fans long after the show ended. Despite leaving Alice, Linda's career didn't end there. In fact, her decision to leave the show opened up new opportunities for her. She went on to pursue roles in theater where she could showcase her talents in a different medium. She also continued to explore her love for music, performing in various venues. Linda's decision to leave Alice allowed her to reinvent herself and prove that she was more than just the character of Alice Hyatt. It gave her the freedom to pursue the things that mattered most to her and to explore new aspects of her career. Linda "Sis choice to leave Alice is a reminder that even the most successful stars face challenges and make difficult decisions in their careers. It also shows that fame and success are not always as glamorous as they may seem. While we may admire the actors we see on our screens, they too are human beings with their own struggles, dreams, and desires. Linda's departure from Alice was a personal decision that allowed her to take control of her career and pursue the things that truly mattered to her. It was a bold move, but it paid off in the long run as she continued to find success in other areas of the entertainment world. The mystery behind her decision may never be fully understood, but it serves as a reminder that sometimes the most important decisions are the ones we make for ourselves, even if they don't always make sense to others. Linda Lavin's decision to leave the final episode of Alice remains a fascinating and mysterious chapter in television history. The show had made her a household name, and the character she played, Alice Hyatt, was deeply beloved by fans. After years of bringing this character to life, Linda's absence from the show's final moments left many wondering why she chose to step away at such a pivotal time. The show had come to an end, and fans were expecting a final goodbye from the character they had watched for so long. Yet Linda's decision not to be part of that goodbye raised questions and sparked curiosity. What had led to this sudden choice? What was really going on behind the scenes? For years these questions lingered, and the truth behind Linda's decision was something that many fans were eager to understand. To fully grasp why Linda made this choice, it's important to consider what was happening in her life at the time. Being on a long-running television show can be both rewarding and exhausting. Actors who spend years in a single role often find themselves caught in a cycle of constant work, public expectations, and the pressure to perform. For Linda, who had become so closely associated with Alice Hyatt, it may have started to feel as though she was stuck in the same routine. The pressures of maintaining the role, year after year, could have been overwhelming. It's possible that by the time the show was ready to wrap up, Linda simply needed a break. The idea of stepping away from the show's finale may have been her way of finding some relief from the intense demands of the role. Another factor that might have influenced Linda's decision was her desire for personal growth. While Alice had made Linda famous, it was just one part of who she was as an artist. Linda was not only an actress but also a singer and a performer with a deep passion for theater. By stepping away from the show, she was able to explore other avenues of her career that had always been important to her. Theater, in particular, offered her a new challenge and a way to express herself in ways that a television show could not. After spending years playing the same character, Linda may have felt that she needed to expand her artistic horizons and take on different roles that allowed her to grow and develop as an actress. The decision to leave the show's finale was likely not made overnight. It must have been a difficult choice for Linda, who had spent years building a relationship with the audience through her portrayal of Alice. There's no doubt that the character meant a lot to her, but by the time the show was ending, Linda had probably reached a point where she felt it was time to move on. Stepping away from Alice allowed her the freedom to explore new projects, and it was a way for her to regain control over her career. It's easy for actors to become defined by a single role, but Linda's decision showed that she was not interested in being stuck in one place. She had bigger ambitions, and leaving the show gave her the chance to follow them. The lack of explanation at the time only added to the intrigue. Fans couldn't understand why Linda would choose to leave the show without offering any kind of public explanation. There were many theories circulating about why she made this choice. Some people wondered if there was an issue with the producers or other cast members. Others speculated that Linda might not have agreed with how the show was being wrapped up. Still, others believed that it was simply a personal decision, one that had nothing to do with the show itself. The mystery surrounding her departure made the whole situation even more compelling. Fans couldn't help but wonder what had really happened. Why wasn't Linda there to give the final goodbye to Alice? Years later, Linda opened up about her decision, and in doing so shed light on the reasons behind her absence from the finale. She revealed that it wasn't a single reason that led her to leave the show, but a combination of personal and professional factors. She explained that after many years of being in the spotlight and working on the show, she needed a break. The pressures of being in such a demanding role were starting to take a toll on her, and she realized that she needed to take a step back for her own well-being. This wasn't about conflict with the producers or the cast, as some had speculated. It was about Linda needing time to focus on herself and her own needs. Linda also shared that leaving Alice gave her the opportunity to pursue other creative endeavors. She had always been passionate about theater and music, and stepping away from the show allowed her the freedom to explore these interests. This decision gave Linda the space to challenge herself in new ways and prove that she was more than just the character of Alice Hyatt. She could have continued acting on television, but the pull to explore other artistic projects was strong. By leaving Alice, Linda opened the door to new opportunities that allowed her to grow as a performer and artist. The impact of Linda's departure was deeply felt in the show's finale. Alice had been built around Linda's character, and her absence from the final episode was glaring. Fans had watched Alice's journey for years, and the idea of saying goodbye without her was difficult to accept. The final episode was supposed to bring closure to the characters and to the viewers who had followed the show for so long. But without Linda's presence, the episode felt incomplete. Fans were left wondering how the finale would have been different if Alice had been there to wrap up her story. Would it have been more emotional? Would the characters have had a more satisfying closure? These questions lingered in the minds of fans, adding to the curiosity surrounding Linda's decision to leave. Despite stepping away from Alice, Linda's career didn't stop there. In fact, her decision to leave the show opened up new opportunities for her to pursue other creative projects. She continued to perform in theater, where she took on new roles and expanded her artistic range. She also pursued her love for music and continued to perform in various venues. Linda's decision to leave Alice allowed her to reinvent herself and show the world that she had more to offer than just the role of Alice Hyatt. It gave her the freedom to pursue the things that truly mattered to her, and her career flourished as a result. Linda's departure from Alice is a reminder that even the most successful actors make difficult decisions in their careers. It also shows that fame and success don't always come with happiness. Behind the scenes, actors face their own struggles and challenges, and sometimes those struggles lead them to make choices that may not be understood by the public. Linda's decision to leave Alice was about more than just the show. It was about her own personal journey and the need to find balance in her life. While fans may never fully understand why Linda chose to leave, her decision ultimately allowed her to take control of her career and her happiness. It was a bold move, but one that showed her commitment to her own artistic growth and well-being.